Alright, hi guys. Take two. You wouldn't know that because I got rid of the other one, but I just noticed that the whole time I was videotaping my first try, it was the wrong, it videotaped sideways. Portrait. I'm not sure why it did that because my phone is not portrait. Anyway, so we're going to be doing this headband. It doesn't have a name. If you can want to come up with one, I'm open to suggestions. But this is, we did some practice stitches to get to know the stitches for this one. Wednesday, if you saw that one. If you haven't and you have a hard time understanding what I'm doing this time, pop in and just kind of give those a look. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing better. I use a lighter yarn, and I'm using a multicolored yarn today because this is going to match a coat I've got a coat in this kind of bluish area, which will look pretty with it. And so that's what we're going to do. Now, this was one of the first ones I was trying my hand at trying to be creative. And so I came up with the pattern of stitches here. We are going to do 11 rows. That's what I came up with. And then we're going to do 2 rows of single crochets, a row of cross stitch, then 2 single crochets. Our middle row is going to be a cobblestone, and then of course we reverse that. Now this is all done in a multiple of 2. Like I said, this is my first time trying to do this, so I was trying to not make it really too complicated. Now this is my second effort, so I've already made my chain, and I'm just going to skip down here a little bit. If you're unsure how to make your foundation row, you do a slip knot, and then you can make just a chain to where it fits around your head, just like this. And it needs to be a multiple of 2, and then of course we're going to do 1 at the end. I'm looking for my measure the circumference of your head, and what I did that I came up with about a 21, 22. So now I got to get my yarn straightened out. What I do, I go just a little short of that. So I hold my yarn, of course, at the 1, and I pull it out. I am really not being very organized. What is going on with my there we go. I didn't do that bad the first time around. I kind of wish it was being smooth this time around. So I take this down without pulling it out a little bit. I'm getting a 19, a 19, and if I stretch it just a little bit more, I'm getting a 20. So I have a little bit of pull, and that's where my gauge is. I want between 19 and 20. So I'm happy with mine, and that turned out to be 60. Then I'm doing 1 for a turn chain. Oh, come on. And we're just going to do 2 rows of single crochets. So once we get started, I am going to let everybody work at their own pace. And we are going to skip, and we're going to start here on this chain. First one here, or the second one really. So we're just going to do single crochet. You can do this in the back bump only. I find that's not impossible, but a little bit difficult with sometimes this I tend to turn, so I just stick with the doing it traditionally, or that might be traditionally, depends on how you learn. So I'm just going to do mine this way, and if you like doing it the other way, by all means please do the way you want to. And so we're just going to do 1 row of single crochets, chain 1, turn, and do 1 more row of single crochets, and we will meet back together and start that cross stitch row. All right guys, I'll see you back in a little bit. Okay, I think I mentioned I had 60. I have 68. I'm not sure why I thought 60, just on my foundation row, just so I make it tell you the accurate amount of number. So if you're doing the same thing, I don't want it for some reason like not fit. So I have 68 stitches, still multiple of 2. So I'm going to chain 1. These are my single crochets, and I'm going to turn. Now we are doing the cross stitch, so we're always going to skip 1, work in to the 1, and come back and pick up the one we skipped. Now, there are several ways we could do this. We can make our cross stitch. We're doing a double crochet, and we could either work behind it. I did not show this method on the video. I thought about it later. If you want your stitch to go behind, you know, really depends on which way you want your X to go. If you want this one to go behind it, then you can do work behind the one you just made. Okay, and then we're going to go to the next one. And I know this darker color is harder to see. This is why I wanted to do that video to hopefully be helpful. Now, I know the one I did show in there is like trying to go into this loop from the back, and then this cross stitch would be in front. Or what would be faster is making your cross stitch an interlocking cross stitch and just work it around. So there's 3 ways, guys. So you make it the way you like, the way it looks. But that's what's, you know, you're the one wearing it. You can find your method. And when, of course, when you get to this row here, it kind of straightens itself out a little bit. These two might take a little bit more time to fiddle with, where this one can be really quick. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make our cross stitch all the way across. And I think I'm just going to do it behind. I might just alternate just to kind of give it, should help you guys with. This one's really not that hard to do. It's just kind of, you know, fiddling with the way you're doing it. Just make sure you're not going into this one. It's very easy to pick up the wrong stitch when you're going back. So make sure you pull apart when we're getting that empty one or skipped one. I always say empty. I know that's not the proper term, but there we go. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to continue doing this. Use the preferred method you like. Remember, you could go behind, in front, or go through and go around. So just whatever way's the easiest for you, and we'll see you at the end. But that's where we're going to be doing this row. I'll see you for the next row, and we'll be right back. Okay, so I'm on the last 2 for this part. So we should have 2 stitches left, and I am going to just continue this. And I did end up going to the back loop, going around the back of my stitch, and there we go. And I am going to chain 1. Now, if you are watching this on YouTube, then you're going to see the whole video. And just so those who see this clip on TikTok, it will be in multiple parts because of the 10-minute limit. And if you want to watch the full one, go to the YouTube page by the same name. So here's what it looks like. I love this in the green, by the way. Isn't that pretty? I like that it turned light. All right, so let's get our next row started. So I chained 1, and these next 2 rows are the single crochets again. So we are just going to be just starting that, and we will come back when that's done. Just make sure you're getting 1 in each stitch if it helps. Make sure you're counting and you have the same amount of stitches you started with. Mine would be the 68. And I will see you after 2 rows. Remember, at the end of this row, just chain 1. If that's your preferred method for your turning, I like the chain 1 for the single crochets. Now, if it's a different stitch, sometimes I vary it out. And I've talked about that in other videos. But go ahead and work your single crochets. It won't take that long, and then we'll do the cobblestone. and then we'll be at our halfway point. So I'll be back with you in just a little bit, guys. All right, so now we are going to start the cobblestone stitch. Now, the one reason I think it works so well with this is because if you were to do this outside of the headband, you would start with a foundation of single crochets. So we're just using, it seems really, works well with what we're doing. I've chained one. We're going to turn. This is what we look like so far. Talking long, Kim. All right, so we're going to do a single crochet first, and this is going to be the repeat 2 stitches. Then we're going to do a treble, and if you remember, trebles wrap 1, wrap twice, and treble is the US name for this stitch. I was watching somebody, and it was called a double treble or something like that. It was a different, I forgot the different term for the same stitch. I like hearing them, but I'm so bad at remembering them. So we're going to go back to our single crochet and our double. I'm going to treble, and we're going to go back to. So that's what we're going to repeat all the way along here. We'll work some together because this is my opportunity to kind of chat and see how you're doing. Hope everybody's fine. Everybody's headed for the weekend. Do you have good plans? Have fun plans? I've got one friend, subscriber here. She hasn't posted for a while, but she's getting ready to have her first grandchild. I'm so excited for her. And I know my grandchildren will bring me a lot of joy. Have you ever thought about things you want to talk about, and then when it comes down to it, you just forget? That's what I'm sitting here thinking. There are some things I wanted to talk about, chat about, and now I can't remember what they were. I need to start writing them down. One thing I thought about is like when I called this empty space, but it's just I know it's a stitch. Do you have certain ways that you say things that maybe aren't the correct or the official crochet term? I mean, I know it's a stitch and a space, but instead of saying a skip chain, I said an empty space, empty chain. But it's from being so many years just doing it by myself and not having to describe it. So I really got to work on that because I don't want to be confusing. And we've got a little bit of yarn barf here. Let me put it on pause and fix that. Okay, I've got that straightened out. Has your weather? I love the cold weather. And we've been having some cool weather. Then it got back up into 80. Kentucky is funny. It has just a bit of everything. You just kind of never know sometimes what it's going to do. I have a friend in Arizona. She said that it was so hot there. Of course, if you have anybody or know anybody there, it's been over 100 degrees a lot. And she said it just burned up her outside carpet. It just makes it bad. So different challenges, different places. Of course, Florida's had their very difficult time with all the hurricanes. So I'm hoping everybody recovering well there. And I've a friend in Texas. She was talking about how bad when a hurricane that came through and affected their house. So it's just difficult times everywhere. There's always some kind of challenge that we have to go through and keep strong. So I hope everybody's doing okay with whatever you're facing. I've got a really good friend of mine. I've known her forever when I lived in Alabama, and her and her mom was really close with my mom, and she was a real good friend of mine, and she just passed away. It was just a sudden thing, and I just feel for her. Then my son called me and said someone he knew and thought a lot of just passed away. And it's just always something. And I mean, I can't have any complaints right now. Everything's going fairly well. I always loved having my granddaughter. I get to help teach her. She's the one that lives close to me. And it's always fun. And then I got to have both my two granddaughters not long ago together. They had a good time together, playing. My other one, I don't get to see as much. I don't know. It's just a different dynamics. My son's very loving and caring, but they just never come where I'm at to visit. They're not very social, very sweet and kind and there for me, so I'm not complaining. I just wish I could see him more often. But he works a lot, and it's just a different relationship. He's very busy with his family. And they're in Florida right now. They've got some really nice pictures of them. I love seeing that. Her family goes down there every year. So, nice family trip. I would love to do that, but I'm a little bit different financial situation than her parents. So, and it's okay. We can't all be that way and be the same. So, okay. Well, I've jabbered enough. Bored everybody. Maybe. I hope not. But I hope everybody's doing okay. Just kind of wanted to chat and see what's going on with everyone. And get this row done. And then this is our middle row. So when you get here, you're halfway through. And then we're going to start doing our next rows in reverse. So I'm going to finish this out. I'm almost done with it. Whoops, I'm making that a double. I'm almost done with it. And then we'll look at it. So I'm just going to finish it out and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've ended that row. I'm going to chain one and turn. And this is what our cobblestone is going to look like. It's always good to kind of go back and make sure that we haven't missed anything. It's just a subtle little bump. And now that we've chained one and we've turned, we are going to do a single crochet for 2 more rows. There we go. So just kind of turn it towards you, because you're going to have like long stitch, short stitches up here. So this row, you want to make sure you're going in each one and not gaining any. So I've just turned it so I can see the top of my stitch. Here we go. And so we're just, as I said, just turn. So like looks like a short stitch here. You see the little V looks smaller than the other. So that's why I'm calling it short. And then the one where we did our treble looks a little bit longer. And so we're also going to put one in there. So short, long, just make sure you're not catching this twice, because it does look kind of big. And then we should always recount our stitches and make sure we have the same amount we started with. All right, so I'm going to finish the next 2 rows of single crochets, and then we'll do the last of our headband. So we are almost there. We're halfway through, guys. So see you in a little bit. All right, guys. So we are, of course, this was our halfway point. We did our next 2 rows of single crochets. So next, what we're going to do now is the cross stitch and then end with 2 more single crochet rows. And let's get that started. And we're just going to do the same thing. We're skipping the first one and going to in the second. And I'm going around and picking it up and bringing it behind. That's what I've decided to do mine. It's always nice when you can do a stitch the way that you feel comfortable with. So I figured this was turned out to be, well, it doesn't look like it was fast, but it's fairly easy for me. And I do like the idea we are going back into light colors for a little bit at least. We'll see how long that lasts. So that's what we're going to do. Let me see here. Now, if the width of this is not what you want it wider, you could always add 2 more rows of single crochets. I would maybe begin and end with it, because you want to have an even number of rows so you can have your cobblestone in the middle. So if you want just slightly wider, I would start with 3 single crochet rows and end with 3 single crochet rows. That would give you 13 rows, and it would give you just a little bit wider headband. That's just if you would want it a little bit wider. And if you wanted it shorter, you can always do these cross stitches in single crochets. It wouldn't shorten it like a tremendous amount, but it would give it, smaller stitches. That's if you want to alter this pattern. Of course, if it's in a multiple too, you can change any of the stitches. That you like. If you're not crazy about this one, find you another decorative stitch to add. So we are going to be just taking this along. Now the next one I'm going to do while we're working on this one, or I keep working on this one, here we go, is I think we'll do the Tunisian one with the cross stitch pattern on it. It was a white one with a rose cross stitch on it. That one does take a little bit more time, but once you get the stitch down, it's all you do. And if you're just learning Tunisian, it's the basic stitch, but it's also not very big project. That's a good practice one. And you don't have to cross stitch on it if you don't like. I just remembered making a blanket for a friend of mine, and that's the first time I did the Tunisian stitch. And hold on one moment, guys. Okay, so I had to pause because my battery was starting to die, and I'm hoping this is where you can see it really good. And I'm on my last one, and then we're going to start our 2 rows of single crochet, which you guys have done a lot of times, so we're not going to, well, let's make this last one a double crochet. Here we go. We're going to chain, and we're going to do 2 more rows of single crochet, and I'll come right back with you, and we will start showing how to twist your headband, your warmer. So I'll be right back with you here in just a little bit, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to do my last single crochet here and tie it off. I just make 2. I'm going to give myself a tail because this is the one I'm going to sew with. And then we will do our twist here. Okay, so I've got my tail, and let's make our little twist knot. I'm going to fold this side up, and I'm going to put this end in that middle row. I'm going to bring this tail up. I'm going to wrap it to meet there, and I'm going to do the same thing with here. So we have this little accordion type zigzag here, or whatever you want to describe it, but I'm going to put this edge into the middle, and then I'm going to meet here. And then now I'm going to thread my hook or my yarn needle so we can sew it together. Okay, this might take some little fiddling around. Let me see if I can get this, because I am still not getting, trying to work with my light, guys. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. Let me get a good light. Okay, so I am Well, see, now the light's not working. There we go. My phone's charged more. It's not charged all the way, but I wanted to be able to get this finished for you guys so I can put it out today. Let's just go back. I know it might be repeating it, and I apologize. We are going to take the middle of our headband ear warmer, put one edge to get on there, and we're putting this on good sides together. I'm going to wrap this side to meet that middle, and then we are going to take this one and turn it into the same way. Now you might have to fiddle with it a little bit and make sure all your pieces are lining up and on the top so you don't miss it. If you hear something in the background, I'm trying to listen to Mrs. C's Cottage live, but I also wanted to get this finished for you, so I have that listening to in the background because I want, give her that time. And she's very wonderful. If you guys haven't seen her, please go watch her. She's very kind. She does these somebodies. I think they're adorable. Okay, so we got our needle. What we're going to do is take it, and we are going to make sure we catch every layer of our headband. So we want to make sure we catch every one. So we got 4 layers. We want to make sure we have that. And I am going to go, well, if I can find my, make my stitches like this. There we go. And I'm pulling them because I want them tight. And then I'm going to just continue that all the way down. And again, what's important is that we make sure we're catching every layer. I have done this, and maybe this layer has slid down, and then when you turn it around, you find it loose, so we don't want to do that. We want this as tight as we can. We don't want it to pucker up at the end, but we do want it to be very secure. And so this is what I'm going to do all the way to the end. I'm going to still make sure that I have my ends are here as we get closer. Oh, crap on a cracker. So I've got my phone charged. I'm sorry I had to stop. We are taking the right sides together, and I am going to do one edge, meet up with the middle. And we're going to take this one. There's my tail from the beginning. We're going to put that, work that on top. We're going to wrap it around it. And then we're going to take this side and wrap it around to meet the end here. Now we want to make sure we have everything where we can see it, and we're going to catch all the edges. So make sure that we don't have anything falling deep down. We want to make sure this edge is all the way to this corner. And I'm going to carry this one with me. So I'm going to do my first stitch. And we're going to make sure we get that edge, end one, or the beginning. Very good. And then we're just going to do that all the way across. I'm just going to make sure I have all my stitches through all 4 layers. If you don't, when you turn it around, you're going to have a little gap. It's fixable, but I'm just making sure I have all of those together. And I'm trying to carry my tail too. Now you could do this going one way and go back if you're a little worried about it not being as secure as you want it. You could always turn it around and check it. But I'm just trying to do stitch by stitch the best I can. It can be a little bit difficult, but just keep them together close and it works out. It doesn't have, this part does not have to be perfect except for going through all our layers. And if you're unsure, just go back and make sure you're catching them, and I'll show you here next time, because this is where it can start sliding. So here we go. We want to make sure we have all our layers. So I want to bring this one up. So this is our outside layer. let me fix, I'm fishing, there's the inside one right there. So if it drops a little bit, you want to pull it up. And then you just kind of go through to the end. I'm just trying to put these stitches together close. So, oh, I just lost my yarn. What in the world just happened? My yarn just split. Okay, let me go see how I can fix this. Okay, so I just tied it back together. I'm not sure why it did that. It just got thin and it pulled. It might be just a characteristic of this yarn. Pull that through. And I try to make sure, especially in this corner, that I'm getting everyone, because I find that sometimes this is the harder one to make sure you have it, because here's my end. Everything kind of starts slipping a little bit. So here's one. And then we're going to try to make sure we get the last of this really good. That knot that I made doesn't want to go through. As I said, I want to make sure my corners are doing really well. And come on, that knot doesn't want to go through that. Let me see if I can get it to get through. Come on. Is that gone through? All right, and I'm going to do one more for this corner. Maybe one more, because I feel like I might benefit from another one. All right, so now I'm going to tie it off, or make me a little knot. And then I'm going to, before I get too far, I'm going to turn it around and make sure it looks okay. Because if I have to undo it, we don't want to make it look, there we go. So I think it looks good. Let me get back over here. We're going to thread this through. If you don't think, like, this looks a little loose right here, I'm going to do a little extra stitch to secure it. And then I'll knot it off. Let me see if I can get that to, so there we go. And I'm just going to make a little knot here. I'm going to go through 1, 2, and pull. So this should be secure. You could thread that all the way through if you want. Let's just turn this over, kind of wiggle it around. Here we go. And there is our headband. All right, guys, what do you think? I do like these colors together, and I just kind of play around with this and make sure my knot's laying right. So there we go, guys. What do you think? You know, if you don't like the idea that that's coming up and you want them to sit, do a little stitch on each side. That'll help them stay down. But there we are. And I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching. And we will be doing the Tunisian stitch next. And if you have a name for this one, please leave it in the comment below. If you have a cross stitch pattern you want me to see if I can put on that headband, go ahead and give me a suggestion about that too. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.